Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm at Thorpe Park. It was a massive ordeal to get here because of strikes. Yay, that was fun. A lot of just messing about with it, to be honest. Also the lockers. The lockers here were really weird as well because it's like you have to do it on a digital system and they have a machine, but then the machine only took cash, even though there wasn't a bit to put cash in. Then I managed to get it on my phone and it was fine. Anyway, so I'm here for Carnival. Mainly here for the scare attractions, obviously, with Breakout Bozos. And I'm going to be trying Ghost Train. I think I might try that first. I was going to get some of the shows today, but just because of the morning I've had, I just thought I just want to get in some scares. So I'm going to try Ghost Train first. I believe it's possibly a little bit less intense than trailers. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. So yeah, I guess I'll see you when I come off Ghost Train for the first time. Right, okay, just came out of Ghost Train. I like it. I don't love it necessarily. I think it's so close to being good, like really good, but it just missed the mark. I feel like some of it feels a little bit cheap, a little bit tacky, some of the costumes and stuff like that. Some of the effects as well. They have one bit where there's like a Grim Reaper kind of going over the audience and you can see it coming because you can already see where it's going to come from. And then when it happens, it's so quick and it's really quite tacky. In a way, it feels like they're kind of heavily relying on the stuff that already existed there and then trying to re-theme and stuff. The story was quite basic as well, but some of the scares were pretty good, and I did like some of the some sort of interaction from some of the actors. I got a good scare actually before getting onto the train when the actor opened the door. Like, that was brilliant. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it just feels a little bit lacking. I don't know. But anyway, something that isn't lacking is trailers Breakout Bozos, which you might be able to see behind me. Hold on. There we go, just about to see it. It's chucking it down. I probably won't get reference footage today, might get it tomorrow. To be honest, this one might be a quick vlog, not sure. Just because of the weather, and also I had a really rough morning. So yeah, time to go through Breakout Bozos. This was really fun last year to do. Not necessarily as scary, but although I did get some good scares last year, it's just a fun one. It's just a fun version of the maze. Might be able to get some solo runs. We'll have to see. I think I can see some people going through, but last year they gave you the choice whether you wanted to go through alone or not. So I'll choose it if I can. So yeah, I guess I'll see you when I come out of Breakout at Bozo's. There we go.
20 minutes later.
Right, okay, so just came out of Breakout Bozo's twice because we actually had an evac, which I've never had through a maze before, so a bit of an honour. It was literally right before the finale though, so yeah, basically got 2 run-throughs. But yeah, running pretty well. Not too many actors. There basically seems to be like 1 per room, which isn't too bad, but you know, it's always better with the more actors. Weirdly, at the end, they've got this like character who it's almost like a giant clown face at the end, which is kind of weirdly terrifying. But yeah, all running pretty well, apart from obviously there was an evac, we don't know why. Just lights came on, we got an announcement, actors got us out. Did pretty good job on that, to be honest. But yeah, I was with a lovely group as well. One of them was actually a scare actor at Friday Nights, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna see if I can try and get a solo run. It doesn't really seem like there's too many people there. Go try and scope it out and see when there's no one there. So yeah, I guess I'll see you when I come out.
Later that same evening.
Right, okay, back at the hotel now. I didn't really film much today, to be honest. Yeah, it was just raining pretty much all day, so I didn't really get on too much else. I went on to Walking Dead the ride when it finally opened. That was a pretty good ride on that. Got front row for the first time. Still no actors in the exit corridor. I'm just assuming if they do still have actors, the reason why they're not here now is because of Carnival. You know, you've obviously got the performers and the shows. You've got Breakout Bozos where they're using a lot of the actors. Ghost Train, they've obviously got some actors now, so I can see why they don't have them in Walking Dead the ride. It would be nice to see them one day, but who knows, maybe they just don't do it anymore and people always think they do. Oh, I also went on to Saw the Ride as well. It was a pretty good ride on there. It's actually surprisingly smooth as well. Like, it's smooth, but I think depending on which seat you sit in, it can also like give you a headache sometimes. It all depends. But I had a pretty good ride on it. It was alright. Went on Black Mirror Labyrinth as well. Got out in about 3 minutes or so. I just thought I'd talk on this bit just to make this video have a little bit more content as well. About Ghost Train and Breakout Bozos. The main reasons why I came here, to be honest. They're scare attractions, obviously, so that's kind of my forte. So yeah, thought I might as well talk about it. So probably talk about Breakout Bozos first, just because I think I have more to say about Ghost Train. But yeah, Breakout Bozos, I think it's running alright. I think I did prefer it last year, but I think, you know, it's still pretty good. For me, there was only 1 actor pretty much in each room. Apart from in 8 Dolls, there weren't any actors in there. On our first run, an actor, I think from Bozo's Play Zone, like jumped in, so he must have like had a connecting room or something. But yeah, no actual doll that came to life on that bit, which I think is just a bit of a shame. But apparently I've heard from other people that they had more actors in later in the day. I think because some of the shows were cancelled, it meant that well, I think all the shows were cancelled actually because of the rain. I think those actors then went into Breakout of Bozos, and therefore they had more actors in there. I think they still didn't have one in 8 Dolls, but you know, I think that one, unless if you're going on like a really busy day, you're not really going to see an actor in there, which is a shame, because otherwise you don't really get the gag to that in a way. It's like a joke, you know, you have the joke and you have the punchline, and it's like the joke for this is you have the corridor with all these mannequin dolls, and the punchline is a doll jumps out, and a lot of the time the punchline isn't there because there isn't a doll there. And it's a shame as well, because last year I had a really good jump scare in that section. There was, I think I might have mentioned this on the channel before, but if I haven't, it was a solo run through Breakout of Bozos, and the doll jumped out. It was in a clown mask instead, and he was right behind me doing like the Pennywise Dance. I'll probably like put it over the video here now. And he was doing like the Pennywise Dance, where it's like, you know, it moves the legs out. I'm doing it and you can't even see it on the camera, but yeah, he was doing that. Really, you know, lots of energy. And then I turned back round and I thought, oh, he's gone. And then I turned back around again to him, and he was still there doing it
like a few inches from my face, and it was also in that part, it's like the colours are kind of more muted, like it's kind of more grayscale, so that made it even more terrifying. And it was just like this mask right near my face, and he kept doing that dance all the way up till I'd left into the next corridor, like literally all the way up to the curtains. That was an amazing bit of scare acting. That was, you know, an amazing bit of interaction, and yet you can't have that when there isn't an actor in that section. So yeah, it is a bit disappointing. Hopefully maybe tomorrow there might be some more actors in there. That would be nice. Also hopefully the weather's better as well, because then it means yeah, hopefully I can get on more rides and stuff. I think still the maze is working pretty well. They have changed the storyline a little bit, and I don't think it's as good as last year. Like with last year's one, it kind of mentions about Bozo's Play Zone being a film version of a student film that was called The Big Top. So it's like The Big Top's meant to be like a student film in this sort of Thorpe Park universe, and the film version of that short film, The Big Top, is Bozo's Play Zone, and that's what you see the trailer for. And it was the idea that Bozo has broken out of his trailers and then infected like all the other trailers essentially, and put clowns in there and everything. This one, it was with a vlogger, so I wonder who that's meant to be commentary on. I think the first actor did, I think he had a bit more energy. The second actor, a little bit quiet, but you know, still looked like he was having fun, and that was nice. That kind of really good story wasn't there, I don't think, from last year. It's just more like it's a vlogger explaining the exposition rather than it actually really meaning anything. So I wish they kind of brought that story back from last year. But yeah, I think a lot of the scare acting was really good, some really good scares in there. I did manage to get a solo run through. As I did mention, we had an evac, so I think it was in the bit just before the finale. So you've got like the bit where you come out of the portal and there's the chairs, and then you got like the exit foyer before the projector room. We were just in the corridor between that, and then the music stopped, the lights came on, and then we had an announcement. Also there's a plane going over. I don't know whether that's going to pick up on camera or not. I don't even know if my voice again is picking up, who knows. I'm just getting distracted by it. ADHD is the worst. But yeah, so we were in that exit corridor, sound cut off, lights turned on, and then there was an announcement saying that we need to evacuate you from the maze. And then we turned the corner, one of the actors was there, and also on that run through we actually were going on a run through with an actor. Apparently he's been one of the crows. I think he said he worked in sorry, I forgot. I think he said he's going to be working in Ghost Train, but he's worked in other scare mazes for Thorpe in the past, which is great. And he basically knew what to do. He started ushering us out. There was one of the actors one of the clowns, he got out of character and just got us out of the finale, which was great. And then we were in the queue and straight back in for another run. So I didn't manage to use all 3 of my tickets today, but technically I have had 3 runs, so not too bad. But yeah, on that third run, I managed to get a solo run. I was kind of scouting it out to see when there was no one there. And yeah, on that solo run, pretty good. The interaction was great in there, in a lot of the rooms. I almost like tried to like yes and in a way, try and like, you know, interact and go with it in a way, rather than, you know, not really trying to like trip them out in a way, like trying to help them. Like if they say something to me, I work off that, you know. For example, in Ship Happens, or I think it's now Ship Happens Again, which is the sequel version, the kind of sailor clown character who has a crocodile, and he basically asks you about if you agree with love between a human and a crocodile, and I was like, yes, of course I do. And it's like, I love that kind of interaction where you can kind of work off the scare actors. I think that's great, and I always try and do that in scare mazes. Yeah, the finale of that one was good as well, where, you know, got a really nice one-to-one interaction. I think, as I mentioned before when I was talking, it was like a big clown face, but it was like the costume was basically like the top half of the body. So like the face was the top half of the body, and then you just had like the legs down the bottom. I think like the arms might have been in the head as well. It's a weird character, but I kind of like it. I think especially for Breakout of Bozos, I think it works. It's funny because it's meant to be that kind of more fun version of the maze. So I think that works. The only thing on that run was I went into Nightmare on Stain Street, and I think the actor didn't realise that there was someone going through the maze, and so just as I walked in, he was going to go and get his drink. Completely fair enough. I don't blame him. But the good thing was that as soon as he saw me, he got straight back into character, which is brilliant. Like, that shows him being a good scare actor. You know, you can't expect, you know, they're all humans. I think that's what people need to understand. Like, they're not going to be perfect all the time. So when something like that happens, you know, and there might be a mistake, you might, you know, be caught off guard or whatever. The point is, if you can get back into character straight away, brilliant. Like, you know, I think he did a great job with that. You know, again, like with the evac that they had to do, they were all really professional with it, all got us out, all knew what they were doing. It was brilliant, you know. So yeah, I think can't really fault it too much, to be honest. Again, apart from just actor amount, I feel like at least a couple of actors per room for most of the rooms. You know, the funny thing is, the one room that actually could do with just one actor is 8 dolls. Like, the one room that doesn't have an actor, you only need one. Like, you just need someone dressed up as the doll. You know, it's kind of like in Altonville, where it's like, I feel you just need a couple of people wearing the skin masks. I think it's kind of a thing to do with hygiene and stuff. Only one person can wear the mask at a time. The thing is that only one character's meant to wear the masks. But my point is that you have that character out in a way. Like, you only need one of them, and that will give a good scare in the maze. I think it's the same with 7 dolls, ironically wearing a mask as well. That if you have that one character, that will do fine for that entire section of the maze. A few of the changes as well that I noticed was like with I keep calling it Hoodoo Voodoo, it's Vulcan Voodoo. Hoodoo Voodoo is actually a different maze at a different scare event, but yeah, Vulcan Voodoo. It was almost like more like a rave instead, like with like little twinkly lights and stuff, and they were doing like rave dances and stuff. So, you know, I guess that's kind of fun. Again, I think most of the rest of the maze was the same, with just obviously like little different character changes that they might have decided. But yeah, you know, I think it was fine. Just again, I feel like a few more actors could have been used, really. I think that's always my problem with trailers, really, and a lot of the scare mazes at Thorpe Park could just do with a few more actors. Apparently they did have more this afternoon, but I think that was very much based on the fact that all the other performers had nothing else to do, so they just brought them into the maze. That's what I can imagine. So I missed using my last ticket because I was going to save it till just before 6, but then I got into the queue line for Ghost Train, and I think it might have had a bit of a delay because in the second part of the train, it was on for a lot longer than it should have been. The actors had to do a bit of improvisation, which was actually really good on them. You know, they managed to keep improvising quite seamlessly, which was great. But it meant that I was delayed out, which meant that I missed getting back into Bozo's again, unfortunately. But I've got 3 runs tomorrow. I'm sure I'll enjoy them. But yeah, Breakout Bozo's pretty solid. I think even if they don't have Bozo's Play Zone in trailers from now on, I think Breakout Bozo's would still be cool to have year on year, you know, unless if you can find something else that relates to Carnival or, I don't know, somehow Oktoberfest or some of the other events. Like, if you could somehow bring the maze back for that, fair enough. So next I'm going to talk about Ghost Train. So yeah, it's something which I feel like I was kind of anticipating, even though I wanted to try and keep my expectations low. One of the only things that I knew about Ghost Train was that they replaced the VR with actors instead, so it was all kind of physical stuff rather than all digital, which works better for me because I do not like artificial scares. Jewel took me so long to get used to because I just wasn't good with any of the jump scares from like the animatronics and stuff. The difference with Curse at Alton Manor is, I don't know, I guess just like the jump scares feel more like scare maze jump scares. I feel like I can deal with them more, especially now that I know what's coming in each scene as well. I feel like with Jewel, I always kept forgetting. I think it was also a lot louder as well, so a little bit less nuanced. It was all like kind of shock scares and stuff. And with Derren Brown's Ghost Train with the VR, because it's right in front of your face, like you can't get away from it, which means that really didn't work for me. And I got one jump scare from that at the end where Derren Brown says like it's okay to open your eyes, it's all over, and then they have like the demon jump scare in your face. It's like I wouldn't have been able to deal with that for the entire thing. So yeah, unfortunately didn't really see much of the VR. I have seen some of it online, so I think I get the general kind of gist of the storyline. But yeah, with Ghost Train, it's definitely going on a different kind of storyline. I don't really even know if I can necessarily call it a storyline, because it's almost like it has a premise and it just keeps repeating that premise throughout. So essentially it's the whole thing that there was this cult of aristocrats, like I think like 6 or so like people of nobility, some dukes and lords, I think they mentioned like an abbess or something, a sergeant, who all want to defeat death, essentially, not die, get immortality. And so they find this book, which I think it's on some of the posters, you see this like Latin phrase. The translation is "Death is not the end," and so that's what the name of the book is. And so essentially they find this book and they use that to try and cheat death, but actually it summons death and that kills them. And they basically keep repeating this thing throughout. Like, it's a very basic story, or at least like it's a very kind of short story, and they just keep repeating it throughout. They just keep saying it over and over with like slight updates, slight little additions, but it's basically the same story throughout. And it's just like, that means it doesn't really feel like a story. It feels like a premise for a story, and then they need to build on that. So yeah, the storyline isn't really great, to be honest, and so that kind of takes you out of the immersion a bit. I think also a couple of the effects in there, because I think a lot of the production values are great, but I think a lot of that stuff comes from what was already there with Derren Brown's Ghost Train. I think some of the new effects, like there's a bit with so I think it used to be the bit where there was a live actor in Derren Brown's Ghost Train where like you were told to stand there and then this infected person runs out at the group. It's in that room, I think, and it's now like this kind of chapel in a way, or this kind of crypt, and it's got all these skulls on the wall. It looks pretty good. Some of the production values of that are pretty good, but then at one point they summon death and he like flies in over top, and I think one problem is that I saw him coming.
That's what she said.
Behind this altar you could see where death was, where he was going to come out. You could see where the wire was that was going over. But then also when he goes over, like, and I thought that this is very similar to Curse at Alton Manor. So when you go down the banqueting hall, you turn to the right, and then there's this kind of ghoul that flies over you, and that's a really good effect because it almost like kind of flies at a diagonal angle in a way, like it's almost coming towards you. The lighting works really well with that, maybe because you're also going in a vehicle towards it. With this, it didn't really feel like it was real. It felt like it was just a static death flying over, and it's like it was almost kind of comical in a way because it didn't look real. It didn't really look scary. It literally just looked like a cheap death that just flew across the top. Even if it had like a kind of like a swooping effect or something like that, but where it like flies over the audience, but it doesn't. Essentially how the Ghost Train parts work is essentially I think the best way to describe it is like in the Alton Towers dungeon you have the Molly Lee scene, where you essentially have a monologue delivered and then you have these jump scares that happen in between it. So the lights go out and then they turn back on and someone's jump scared. That mainly happens in the first part, and then it continues into the second part, but then at the end you kind of have like the Molly Lee bit where instead of Molly Lee as a ghost, it's these almost like demon nun characters. And again, some of the jump scares are pretty good with that. I actually had some good ones on my last run. But yeah, they just look really cheap. The masks look really cheap. It's not really explained who these characters are either. There's kind of like a summoning thing that happens, but it's not really explained. Are these death? Are these some of the aristocrats? It's not really explained who they are. And again, the masks look really cheap. So it almost feels like they got in like a cheap contractor to basically take what was there for Derren Brown's Ghost Train, improve and like re-theme and repaint little bits of it, and then add in these like little cheap bits, and it's just like, I don't know, it just feels cheap. It feels a bit tacky, even though maybe it's not, I don't know, but it just, to me, it just feels a little bit tacky, weirdly. But I think the thing that saves it is the acting. I think the acting all round's pretty good, it's pretty immersive and interactive. I will say one problem is that when you have a full group, especially on my second run through, where the group was just, they would not shut up. Like, it was already a big enough group already, but they just would not shut up. They screamed all the time. Like, even when death went over, they screamed, and it was so over the top. But the problem is, when you have a full group, you've got two actors in, or two main actors. There's kind of like two station conductors, and then there's one almost like techie person who doesn't really have any lines, just more some like creepy movements and stuff, like some little voice lines here and there. But you've got these two main kind of conductors. I can't remember their names now, but they're at both ends of the train, and so if you're at one end, you'll hear one of them, but you won't hear the other. but then they swap over halfway through, but it's like you'll miss half of the story if you're at one part of the train. One advantage of my final run through was it was only 8 of us, which meant they put us into the middle, and then we could hear all of it, and that was really great to hear. Granted, that meant that I knew what the whole story was, and so I knew that, yeah, it's not really a great story still, but I think some of the acting from that was brilliant. And, you know, again, the jump scares at the end with those kind of nun characters, they got right in my face. I would say on that last run through, the problem was the other actors, they didn't really pick on me much, which means I didn't get many jump scares from them, but it was still cool to see. It was still cool to see other people getting jump scared and stuff in that bit. But yeah, you know, the acting I can't really fault, to be honest. I think the acting's really good, and it really does kind of add that immersion to it in a way. But then you get distracted by the storyline repeating itself, and, you know, again, not really being a storyline, more being a premise, and these little kind of tacky things, they really distract me. Like, and I really want to like this, because I do get some enjoyment out of it, but it's just about good. It's fine. I think I enjoy it more than Derren Brown's Ghost Train, but that's just because I don't like VR jump scares. I think, from what I understand of the story of Derren Brown's Ghost Train, it actually feels that has a bit more story. If you're okay with the VR stuff, it was probably more enjoyable, but I think this is just personal preference for me. I just enjoyed this more because I didn't enjoy the VR anyway. Oh, and in the final bit, in the kind of just before the gift shop, you have the fake kind of photo area, which I don't think was actually on for when I did Derren Brown's Ghost Train that one time. Yeah, I don't think the demon was there at that point. It's essentially kind of the same premise, but instead of the demon, I think it's meant to be death. It's just a person in a black hooded robe. You have this kind of pre-show character who I think his surname was Mortis. Something Mortis. He was actually a pretty good actor, to be fair, and I think he plays all the characters on the screens as well. He did a pretty good job. And you see him on the screens at the end, and there's a lot of different like effects, like pipes crunching and like things turning on their side as this kind of death character comes into the centre and jump scares from this kind of box area where the demon from Derren Brown's Ghost Train used to be. And then one thing that they have added is that after that happens and the lights turn back on, there's these like mannequins in these cages that kind of writhe around and scream. That was alright, but again, they kind of look a little bit tacky, weirdly. Like, yeah, they kind of look a little bit, you know, not great. Again, I don't know how much they spent. Maybe they are expensive and they just look tacky to me. I don't know. It's fine. But, I mean, and also especially I think because it came out around the same time as Curse of Alton Manor, a little bit after, and I feel like there was the comparison between these two kind of scary attractions. I think Curse of Alton Manor beats it by so much. Like, you know, it's miles away from Curse of Alton Manor, this. I think it's fun enough to do. The queue wasn't really too long either, so that's fine. And, you know, it is fun. You know, I think there are some good scares. That is another thing I will say as well. The scares are pretty good. But I think for me, again, I'm an immersion enthusiast. I want immersion, I want storyline as well as scares. I'm a scare enthusiast, but it's an immersion enthusiast with a niche for scare attractions. I'm not just into scares, I'm into immersion, I'm into storyline. I want to feel immersed. You know, it's like, for example, I loved Doctor Who Time Fracture, went to that 13 times, and there were a few scares in some bits, but for the most part it was just being immersed. It was being in that world. You know, Curse of Alton Manor, yeah, there's some scares in it, but I just like the immersion of it. I love that, you know, wherever you look, it feels like you're in this world. With this, I did feel that, but then there were things that just distracted me and took away from that realism. So yeah, it's fine. You know, if it's on a low queue, I recommend doing it. I don't think the scares are too bad, to be honest. Like, they're not too intense. Like, let's say this is nothing on the levels of Passage del Terror, I'll tell you that. God, it's weird as well because I haven't even edited the Passage del Terror vlog yet. I'm very behind on my backlog. I'd say it's very similar to dungeon scares, in a way. Maybe apart from those last ones, again with the masks, even though they're cheap, tacky masks, I always say that scares, you know, scare actors are always scarier when they look less human. For example, the Skin Snatchers, the doll from Seven Dolls, the porcelain doll from the attic. I could go on. I probably will. But yeah, just like any actors that wear masks, that have a lot of makeup on, look less human. To me, they're scarier. And so, yeah, these kind of nun characters, they are a little bit scary, especially when they're right up in your face, or a little bit more aggressive. But it's not too scary, it's not too intense, and I think that makes sense. You know, it's an attraction that's there all year round. They don't want to, you know, absolutely traumatise people. That's for Fright Nights. I also thought as well, I've done Subterra recently. Again, that's a vlog that isn't edited yet. It's kind of weird because like I'm talking about things that are going to be uploaded in the future, but I am like so far, just to give you an idea, I'm in the middle of doing the Christmas video at the moment. That was at the start of 2023. We're in July now, so yeah, like a good half a year after that. But I've done Subterra, and even with Subterra, it's not necessarily as scary, but I feel like it's more immersive. It's got a much better storyline. It may not be as long, it may not be as scary, but it immerses me more. It makes me, you know, feel more immersed in this world. I get the storyline. It's, you know, it's a simple storyline and yet a really effective one, I feel. Some of the scares on the drop tower are great. I wish there were a few more scare actors in the exit corridor, but, you know, I feel it still works a little bit better than this, even though with this, I do like the theme a little bit more. I do like the fact that there are live actors. I really do appreciate what they're doing, but yeah, it's just, I feel these little things which need the production values upping, I think that's what you need to do, and try and add a bit more of a story all around. Maybe it doesn't really have like a beginning, middle and end, it's just saying this premise over and over again throughout. It's just like, you know, I want more. Oh, I forgot to mention as well, today on my second run through of Ghost Train, I got into the queue line and I saw a familiar face. It was Daryl Dazza Morgan, I believe that's the full name. Met him at Alton Towers Mardi Gras when I met up with Mike and Stace from Love to Explore, coasted with the Joneses. I met up with Daryl as well. It was really nice. It was really nice to meet him again today as well. We had lovely conversations about many different things, about, you know, scare attractions and stuff. Yeah, just loads of theme park stuff. Loads of conversations about stuff. But yeah, lovely to meet you again, Daryl. Hopefully we'll meet up again in future. Thought might as well give you the shout out on here. I managed to go on for his first ride of Ghost Train, and he enjoyed it, which was great. But yeah, I just feel with me, I like it. I'll probably go on it again tomorrow, to be fair, but it's just need to up those production values more, give it more of a storyline, and I guess just try and have like the actors go along the train a little bit more. Maybe like one of them also had a microphone on as well. I think have them both have microphones. It might take away from that immersion a little bit, but it means we can all hear you, and, you know, I think that works fine. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my overview. I'll just check. Ooh, half an hour, great. I've been waffling on for so long. This is going to be fun for me to edit. More work. Yay. So yeah, I don't think I'll film tomorrow, but tomorrow's essentially just going to be going through my 3 Breakout Bozo's maze run-throughs again, going on Ghost Train probably, see if I can try and get on some rides. I'll probably be leaving early to get back to crew. Next video all depends on where my backlog is at that point. I have no idea. I know the next one I'll be filming is an update video, which has probably been uploaded by this point, an update video just explaining what the hell's been going on with the channel and my life in general. That will, you know, I'd highly recommend watching that because it's going to explain a lot of stuff, a lot of updates from the channel and stuff, including the new camera that I have. Very nice camera indeed. And yeah, just how the upload schedule works and stuff, and yeah, all that messy business. But yeah, the next thing I'll be doing is possibly the Towers Time summer event. John Burton's going to be there. Very excited for that because he's literally the creator of my favourite ride, Curse at Alton Manor. So I'll be very excited to not, I mean, I probably won't meet him, but I'll be in the room with him listening to a Q&A, so that'll be exciting to do. And there's also like Rita ERT, God help me, and a Wickerman ERT as well, which I've done before, and that's fun. So I think there's going to be like a party at the end, which I probably won't participate in much, but oh well. If I've done the update video at this point, I probably explained as well that I want to do more content on the channel, want to bring in a lot more stuff. It's just, being able to get the videos edited, to be honest. It's, you know, the filming's the easy part, it's the editing that really takes the time, and by the time I've edited one video I've filmed like 5 more, so that doesn't really help. And I think that's the reason as well probably why I won't be filming tomorrow, because it's like it just gives me less to add to that backlog. But yeah, you know, I feel like I've done a good enough video here. I mean, I'm on to 33 minutes now, so yeah, I've definitely done enough content. So yeah, I guess I will see you next time. Bye.